BMW 335i's and mileage counts. What is the ideal mileage range or specific mileage that I should be picking up a BMW 335i with an N54 engine at? This is single-handedly, by far, the most frequently asked question that I get as a YouTuber in the comment sections, in Instagram DMs, as well as Facebook, and I'm long overdue for this video. So without further ado, if you guys could smash that thumbs up button as well as subscribe to the channel if you are new here, let's talk about the mileage counts on a 335i. So with the BMW 335i and the N54 engine, I think you guys probably get the gist that overall and generally speaking, the 335i is an amazing platform. It has a lot of high power and tuning potential, great looks, lots of luxury features. What more could you ask for, right? The trade-off comes with reliability and a lot of the surrounding peripheral components that support the engine itself tend to fail. So we're kind of already aware of this factor, and we know that these cars do have their issues, and it's fine to acknowledge them because there are a lot of solutions and great help forums to help you deal with those exact problems. When it comes to picking one up, figuring out the ideal mileage count to pick up a 335i at can be a little bit challenging, and even for myself, there is no clear-cut answer, and I know that's probably not something you guys want to hear, but it all depends. And the reason for this is because everybody drives their car differently, everybody maintains their car differently, and different cars experience different issues at different times. With any car, not just 335i's, a good rule of thumb is that the lower the mileage, the better the condition of the car because it's less wear and tear on the vehicle itself. Now, this can also be applied to 335i's, but it's also important to consider those issues that many of the N54s have. Leaky injectors, misfiring issues, water pump failure, turbos and wastegate rattle. Those types of things tend to happen, generally speaking, towards the middle point of the life cycle of the vehicle. So if you find a BMW 335i that is pretty low in mileage, maybe if you're able to find a rare one with like 20, 30,000 miles, or even like 50, 60,000 miles or so, you should probably be aware that there's a good chance many of those components that probably will fail due to poor design or whatever the case may be probably haven't gone out, and those are things that you should budget or prepare for. Say your car is at 50, 60,000 miles, there's a good chance that the car is still running, older index injectors. Maybe the spark plugs haven't been changed because the previous owner didn't know that that was a thing to do. Your water pump might still be on the OEM unit. Hopefully, those things will last for as long as they possibly can, but those are things that you should expect to go out. Now, with a higher mileage car, again, generally speaking, you're going to be seeing more signs of wear and tear and vehicle use just because of that higher mileage, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. We know that the gearbox, both the manual and automatic ZF transmissions on the BMW 335i are really strong units out the box, as well as the N54 engine itself. If the basic maintenance has been done to an N54, like oil changes, coolant flushes, and the car just hasn't been beat to shit essentially by the previous owners, these engines can definitely run well past 200,000 miles. It's definitely possible. They are very good units. And the thing with a higher mileage car is that most likely a good amount of parts had been replaced already, or the previous owner has service records to verify or sort of document any previous maintenance that was done to the vehicle. So finding a high mileage BMW 335i isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, the car is gonna blow up 10,000 miles later. If you can find one that has been well kept by a good owner, just because it has high mileage, I wouldn't stray away from it. I would actually really consider one like that. Over the 2.5 years that I owned my 335i at, I purchased the car with a little bit over 100,000 miles on it, and I sold the car right around 140,000 miles. So I put a little under 40,000 miles on the vehicle, and I definitely had a fair share of issues over time owning that car. It was an amazing experience, definitely one of the most fun cars I've ever owned. Picking it up at that mileage range definitely came with some issues. Fortunately, I never had any problems with the turbos or the high pressure fuel pump, but I definitely had issues with the alternator going out, the valve cover gasket went bad, spark plugs and the coil packs went bad as well, the coolant expansion tank, the upper radiator hose failed, the water pump and the thermostat needed to be replaced because those failed as well. And at the time I sold the car, the oil pan gasket was just starting to leak as well. So that just goes over a few of the issues that I had with that car. There were more that I had, but I would have to bring up a full list that I have written down somewhere on my computer to talk about it. And again, I'm not trying to scare anybody away from these cars. You just have to be wary that they do require maintenance. And if you can acknowledge that and just accept that fact, then you're gonna own a great car that has a lot of potential, as I stated earlier. What do I think is the ideal mileage range to pick up a 335i at? With everything that I have said, considered, and factored in, I personally would say one that has around like 110, 120,000 miles or so would be pretty good. Just because it's past that 100,000 mile mark, so chances are a lot of components that have failed or are prone to failing have probably failed. And in addition to that, you know that, okay, this car has been, well put together. Chances are the owner has a lot of history behind the car, as well as, documented service records and maintenance history, etc., etc. And I think that's a good car that still will have plenty of life to live as long as you are able to maintain the car accordingly. I also would not be opposed to picking up a low mileage example of a 335i. If you can find one with like 30, 40,000 miles, that would be pretty cool also, just because they're getting so rare to find at that mileage and in really pristine condition nowadays. Most 335i's that I see on the market just seem to be beat to shit. The paint is in really bad condition, the interior is chipping away, and unfortunately, because of how cheap these cars have gotten, the quality of ownership behind them has also declined. And so what's gonna happen is you're gonna see clean examples going for really high prices, especially ones that are unmolested or unmodified. Those are going to be particular gems. So if you can find one of those and keep it that way, that would be an awesome car to go for. Like I said, something around the 120,000 mile range, something around that should be pretty good as well. But just keep in mind, regardless, it's really tough to, predict the failures of some of these components. It's best to do your preventative maintenance, stay on top of everything, and you'll have a great car. That's just me being as real and honest as I can, especially with my conclusive thoughts after owning one of those cars for over 2.5 years and putting nearly 40,000 miles. That's what I would have to say. If you disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I'm open to all opinions. And like I said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel for more awesome content, 335i's, N235s, all sorts of other awesome cars. I like to drive fast, I like fast cars, and that's what you're going to be seeing on this channel. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.